Hey everybody, this is Emehe and welcome to a brand new video on Oxygen Not Included. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you all the new stuff that's been added to the game with the brand new Bionic Booster Pack DLC. It came out a little while ago. I haven't gotten it until now, but I have it and I have it activated. So first thing that's new is they did this, which is cool. They made it look like that. If I go ahead and make us a new world in sandbox mode, as you can see, when you're creating your world traits and stuff like that, in the Scramble DLC, you can actually turn on the Bionic Booster Pack DLC. You can turn it off and on, just like you can the Frosty Planet Pack DLC. So it's the same thing as that. And if we go ahead and start the game, we can get into this. Okay, so the first thing that's new is there's Bionic duplicants, obviously. So they're a little bit different from normal duplicants, as they don't really have interests, if that makes sense. So what they have is they've got this different system to where if I re-roll this, there's also a different sound. But as you can see, they either have a bionic bug or they have a bionic bug. And then they also have this green one. It decides what booster they're pre-installed with. So this one grants the Bionic duplicant flawless decorating skills. So this one can produce art on a blank canvas. This one's an artist. It gives them the Masterworks art booster. This one gives them the electrical engineering booster, Masterwork arts again, extreme digging, and I'll explain what boosters do later. But then the Bionic bug is just pretty much decreased of skills. So if I go look at late bloomer, it gives athletics -3 and agriculture -3. And if you want to look at what it does specifically, athletics, it gives -30% run speed, -30 watts on manual generator power. I think that's a mod. And then agriculture, -15% harvest speed, -8%. See, a whole bunch of stuff. And then if I re-roll over engineered, we've got this, and then no passive attribute leveling, which is crazy. So you can't level those. And then this one's different. And then they all have cool names like error prone. But if I go ahead and start this, I can show you the main differences. So let's start off with boosters, or let's start off with skills. So if I go to the skill tree, as you can see, it is very different for a Bionic duplicant versus your traditional duplicant. Here are the skills for the regular duplicant. We all know and love those skills. And this is what it looks like for the Bionic duplicant. So the first row is the booster processors and then the complex processors. And all these do is give them more booster slots. I'll explain what that does in a little bit. And then improved gears. 50% grinding gear penalty reduction. I'll explain what grinding gears is. +1 booster slot again, and then +2 power banks. I'll also explain what power banks are. And then this one gives soldering station usage and more athletics, and this one gives another booster slot plus athletics. And these right here are boosters. These are all the boosters in the game, and these are how the duplicants get their skills. So if we go ahead and look at this duplicant, also the printing pot is different, which is kind of cool. But if we go ahead and look at this duplicant, as you can see, these are their booster slots. And in total, you can have 8 boosters. All of these boosters give the duplicant something different. So the digging booster, this one right here, enables very firm material mining, which is the same thing that this does. And then the construction booster, demolish gravitas buildings, which is the same thing that this one does, demolition. And then strength makes it so they can carry more. They all do their own things. Research, advanced medical, extreme digging, crop tending, ranching, grilling, master artworks, all of these. They make it so that when you have a duplicant, you can give them different boosters, which will allow them to do certain things. So if you have a digging duplicant, they'll have probably strength, your digging ones, and then probably your suit training, and then maybe tidying. I don't know. They can have a whole bunch of stuff. So that's kind of how skills work with the Bionic duplicants. It's very different. The next thing that's different is the batteries. So Bionic duplicants don't have to eat. So if you make a world with all Bionic duplicants, you don't need to make food. But what you do need to do is you're going to need to throw down a crafting station, and you're going to have to craft something called power banks. And there's different kinds of power banks. You've got your metal power bank, you've got your uranium ore power bank, you've got the biggest one, which is atomic power bank, and then you've also got your eco-friendly power bank, which is right here. And all of these do something slightly different. If I go ahead and look in here, the eco power bank, it's rechargeable, which is the only one that's rechargeable. You can recharge it at a charger. I think that's what it's called, just a charger, power bank charger. Yep. You can also use use these to give you base power with a large discharger, compact discharger, and what those do is if you throw those down, they can give you base power based on the power bank that you put inside. And then you've got your metal power bank, which is the cheapest. You just craft this with metal ore. And the next one is pretty much the same thing as this one, except it carries a little more power. You just make it out of uranium ore, also in the crafting station. And then the atomic power bank, you make it out of enriched uranium. This is the best one, and you can't actually use it in duplicates. This one has to be used to power your base. Which kind of sucks. You have to use this one, or this one for your duplicates. But the big thing about these is you can't get them wet. And not only that, you can't get your bionic duplicates wet. If you do that, and if you get your bionic duplicates wet, something very bad happens. I'll go ahead and show you. Liquid exposure plus 200% stress a cycle. Insane. They get stressed very, very fast. Already stressed. Chip is already very stressed. All he did was touch water. So that's something you have to keep in mind is you can't get them wet. Obviously they're robots. It makes sense. But yeah, you don't need food. You just need power bank. But then the next thing is gear oil. And what gear oil is pretty much duplicates need a steady source of gear bomb, or they need access to a lubrication station. And what these do is the lubrication station uses crude oil to keep bionic duplicates running smoothly, and then the gear bomb is just an easier way of doing the same thing. And if this goes all the way down, the duplicate pretty much loses mobility. They get like -5 athletics, maybe -3 or something like that. And it really impacts how good they do. And it also, I'm pretty sure they get really stressed, so you need to keep that in mind. And then the next thing is gunk. So one big thing that's different about these duplicates is they don't need to go to the bathroom. They don't need to use a bathroom. Instead, what they need to use is something called a gunk extractor. And what this does is the duplicate sits on it, and then it will output, which is a new thing that they added to the game. I can show you if our duplicate decides to use it. But pretty much they will eventually use it, and then they'll output gunk, which is this substance that you can use to actually make your bomb, which is nice. And that's pretty much its only use. Other than that, it's kind of just a nuisance. I don't think it has any pretty extreme qualities. It freezes at a pretty low temperature. It evaporates. You can heat it up into sulfur. Oh, that's cool. Sulfur and petroleum. That might be useful. Anyway, I'm not here to worry about that. I also want to quickly talk about their breathing. So bionic duplicates have something called an oxygen tank, and they'll breathe from their oxygen tank. So I can actually put this guy in a vacuum environment, or environment where he can't breathe. And as you can see, even though they're in an environment of chlorine gas, they're not actually suffocating. They do have toasty surroundings and major eye irritation, but their oxygen tank is fine. In fact, their oxygen tank is pretty full. And what this means is that these duplicates can go quite a while without any oxygen, which makes them really easy for like far away excavation. If I wanted them to dig all the way over here and there was no oxygen, they would be okay. But what they do is every now and then when they actually need oxygen, if I go ahead and replace all of this with oxygen real quick, once their tank fills all the way down, what will happen is they will actually refill their oxygen tank, and they will suck up 240 kilograms of nearby oxygen from the environment. So instead of slowly using the oxygen around you that you produce, what these duplicates will instead do is use a whole bunch at once, which kind of makes it tricky to balance them, because sometimes you'll have a good amount of oxygen and then all of a sudden you have none because all your duplicates had to refill their tank. But besides the breathe, there we go. See, she just did it, and she just used a whole shit ton of oxygen, and she went back up. So besides breathing their gear oil and power banks, there's not really much of a difference, except when these duplicates need to sleep. She's doing it right now. They don't actually need beds, apparently. I didn't actually know that. But what they do when they sleep is they, as you can see here, they also emit light, which is kind of annoying. But programming microchips, as you can see, she just did it. Hold on, let me show you what this produced. It produced a microchip, which is awesome because you can tune up your generators with it. But what it is used more often for is, if I come into here, it can be made to make a booster. If I look at any of these boosters, they can be crafted. And see, this one's crafted at the crafting station, but some of them are at the soldering station. And the ones that are at the soldering station cost 8 microchips, and the ones that are at the crafting station, I believe, only cost 2. So that's how you get new skills, is your duplicates don't actually need to level up to wait until they sleep enough for you to craft them, along with leveling up for them to have enough slots, which I think is really cool because it makes it so that all of my buildings are better. All of my power buildings are much better. And then besides that, they all have different stress reactions and stuff like that. Like for instance, this one is Flash Mobber. This duplicate breaks into dance when they are overjoyed. And then Stunner. This duplicate emits electrical shocks when stressed. This one sucks. It damages power wires and it damages a whole bunch of stuff, along with the fellow duplicates around them. If I go ahead and spawn in a few more, this one, Flash Mobber and Stunner, they're all Flash Mobber and Stunner. Oh geez, I didn't know that. See, and I killed them and they emit a whole crap ton of oxygen. They are gonna have popped eardrums, which is a lot of stress. But in my opinion, Bionic duplicates are 1,000 times better than normal duplicates. It's super easy to get them, a lot of skills at once, and it's they're really easy to use, and it's nice not having to worry about food and stuff like that. If I show you a world, a very early world that I'm working on with only Bionic duplicates, I can show you one of the things that make them much easier than normal duplicates. I can so if you look right here, the apothecary makes gear bomb, and then how I have it set up is it's infinite, right? So they're infinitely making it, but this is receiving a red signal. It's actually not, this is full. But what I'm doing is I've set these to have specific amounts of either power banks or gear bomb. So then I can just set these to infinite crafting, and then that guy's about to die. That way, whenever they're empty, they emit a red signal, which is stupid, and then I convert it into a green signal using a NOT gate, which then allows these buildings to be used. Makes it so that the whole process of food and stuff is automated. So then instead of having 100 farms and a bunch of bathrooms, this is all I have. And then along with a gunk extractor and a soldering station. Look at that, all their gunk just got popped out. Isn't that beautiful? And then I just store it right here because there's no use for it except for the apothecary. So me personally, I really like Bionic duplicates. I think it's a great update, and I think that it is just amazing. I don't know, I like it a lot. I think that they're better than normal duplicates, and along with that, they also added a whole bunch of new blueprints for us to use, like Gamma, Bubblegum, and Leech, and then you also have a bunch here, and then you have a bunch with automation wires, I saw. Yep, green, yellow, and pink. So there's a whole bunch of new blueprints to use, which I always love. I love blueprints. But besides that, those are all the changes. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.